So, we are gathered here for another teachable moment because some niggas just don't know when to stop paying for shit. But for the most part, I feel like this is a classic case example of pussy runs the world, but at the same time, it just shows how sometimes guys stop thinking with their heads and start thinking with their dicks. But hey, all of this started because some guy decided to rant on Reddit that I kinda ended up thinking about all of this, but if it's a situation where we can learn something and have a little bit of fun, why the hell not? And I will get to the entire post and all that entails within it in a little bit, but before I do that, where my manners? Welcome to the Breakdown Podcast, where I talk about love, sex, and relationships from a guy's perspective, as well as a bunch of other guy shit. The man on the mic is Sir Denver B. This is a much shortened, much more simple, less edity, more raw version of the podcast that I normally do. And I usually like to do this whenever I'm on break, just so that I can get a chance to get some R&R. And as I can do all of that, I can push some of this content to you guys. Just, me giving some of my more introspective thoughts on certain topics and certain things that I notice that I feel just generally need to be discussed. Now, speaking of things that need to be discussed, so I stumbled upon a post that was on Reddit, in the Reddit Kenya page, and honestly, I feel like this situation used to happen so much to guys, and nowadays people are labeling it badly, but at the same time, it's definitely something that we need to learn from. Now, of course, considering that this happened to a guy, it doesn't mean that it can't happen to a woman, although I've never really heard of such happening to a babe. But, let me just read out the post, then y'all can understand where I'm coming from all of this. So it's titled Sexless Simp, a Rant, and it reads, and I quote, "So I came to Nairobi a few days ago, and there was this lady I knew in uni. We got along, and it was a minute, and we always had that when you're around hit me up energy, but never followed up on it until Friday the other day. So she lives with her folks and I'm at an aunt's, so the only alternative was an Airbnb. This level of convo to me meant that consent of sex was on the package. So we find a nice place in Kitengela at 3,200 per night. So Friday we have quite the fun, we go until quivers, had fun. Honestly, back in the crib we were too drunk and tired, so we slept. Next day on Sato, we ordered food and drinks and kinda made a move, but she was a bit hangovered, so we slept. Sato late evening, we're drinking, just chilling by the pool. At this point, we are making pointers. I'm shooing, I'm getting laid. LOL, hear me out. We reach the house, start making out. She excuses herself to the loo. She blacked out in the loo. Bro! Like 6 hours later, she comes back to the bedroom. Pretty much, she falls asleep. I was equally kinda pissed at this point. So today morning, very determined, I frankly tell her I'm kinda interested in getting physical, where she proceeds to tell me I have not made her feel special enough, cause she heard from mutual friends, quote unquote, I do the most. So we kinda Ubered back to Nai, and now I'm back in the house. If you heard how much I've spent, y'all would want to punch me. A whole 22K, 6,400 for accommodation, 8,000 ordered in food and drinks, 8,000 clubbing at Quiver. I don't even know how to feel. End quote. Alright, so we have a case of a man who went ahead, thought that he was gonna meet up with a buddy and lay some pipe, and that didn't happen, and dude ended up spending way more money than he probably should have in the first place, getting all of this done, and honestly, I don't know how to feel for this guy. But interestingly enough, these stories aren't heard of as much nowadays as they used to before. I think guys just got to a point where they were like, if I'm going to put in X amount, then I expect to get pipe or I expect to get something. Now, granted, maybe the babes nowadays also realize that guys might have been getting a little bit more rowdy, or maybe they felt some type of way and they started letting guys hit, but I don't hear of these stories as much. Although initially, when I read this entire thing, the first thing that clicked in my mind is, honestly, with 22 grand, I feel like you could have gotten pussy for a lot less. I feel like if it really, really came to the worst of the worst and it's pussy that you want, you can go to a place like Sabina Joy and you can come back to the house with 20K still in your pocket or some shit. Granted, that's hoes, but still, there's definitely ways to spend less money, way less money, and still get the same kind of pussy. Although, I don't know, maybe with the way the economy is going, maybe we might have to spend more for pussy. I don't know. Could be me, I could be wrong, but still, I still feel like dude spent a little too much. But money aside though, like the amount of money that he spent aside, I don't know which school of thought a lot of guys come from, but personally for me, at least as far as I know it, whenever a babe likes you and she wants you to bang, usually she will be very open towards giving some level of input. If you're handling all of the costs and she wants to bang you, then there's a very good chance it's not that she really likes you all that much, or she might be a little bit 50-50. Like, I don't know. I could be wrong about this. Now, granted, I have almost gotten into a situation like this, guys, but I kind of nipped mine in the bud. But still, like, the way I usually see it, the way I've sort of experienced it, when a babe likes you, when a babe wants to actually get pipe from you, a lot of times you'll find that the babe will put in her level of input into the entire thing. Because when you look at it, like 8,000 on food definitely sounds like a lot of money. And I thought about that the same exact way. But when I thought about it now from the point of this guy is buying food for 2 people, so assuming it's like a G each, then it kind of makes sense why they'd end up spending 8 Gs on food. Otherwise, that would have been trimmed down to like 3 or 4 if you're buying for yourself. Also, if she gave a damn about the amount of money that you're spending just to lay pipe and she really wanted to give it to you, she might have suggested some cheaper options as well. Also, you guys are at an Airbnb, not a hotel, so you can actually make your own food. Like, I don't know, that sounds like maybe I might be stretching it, but I just wanted to leave it there as an option. Then also the whole drinking thing, I feel like not unless if you guys were actually buying a bunch of mzingas and both of y'all are heavyweights, you shouldn't be spending 8 grand. But hey, that one is for me at best a toss up because I don't drink and I don't usually buy booze for people all that much. So I really can't say that the 8 Gs is justified or not. But all in all, the point I'm trying to make here is if the babe actually liked the dude and was really into having it with the dude, she'd have given some sort of input. Like, that's just how I see it. There are babes out here that want to bang a guy so much, they'll practically organize and fund everything themselves. And then you have a dude that is intending on funding everything, and then on top of that is intending to exert himself physically just to get a nut, and the babe is just seated, chilling, doing nothing. I don't know. It just seems like it's a little bit too much for a guy to do, at least from a cost-benefit perspective, logically speaking, that is. And from this same logic, that's kind of why I deduced that this dude was played. Because, like, what else can you really say happened? Because the whole, they went out drinking on Friday and then, of course, they were too drunk. Then Saturday, she was saying she was feeling a bit hangovered. And then she continues drinking and then she blacks out in the washroom. Like, I don't know. I feel like all of those were just her way of enjoying herself on the guy's dime, because if she's too drunk to shag, then the guy won't do it. And if the babe is blacked out, he can't do it, because if he does, she can technically accuse him of rape. So, of course, dude isn't going to make any of those moves. So she's going to end up, using and misusing him, if not abusing him, all because she knows that this guy isn't going to cross certain lines. And when you kind of think about it, dude was definitely played here. Shorty wasn't intending on giving up the goods. Even the whole, you didn't make me feel special, that was just her trying to gaslight the dude into him feeling like he didn't treat her a certain way, and or just putting it in such a way that she can say no without really having to say no. So even without having to really think about it that deeply, you can clearly see the dude was played. The only thing that I found particularly interesting is that people were actually referring to this as simping. And of course, the comments were rolling in and they're like, oh, the simps must see dust. Oh, being a simp is hard. You get to spend so much. At least you get to keep people in employment and, boost the economy and shit. Of which I wouldn't classify this as simping. To be quite honest, like, I know there's a lot of people that are ready to be like, this is simping, but this is just a classic case of a dude being played. I wouldn't consider it simping, because for someone to have been classified as a simp, there needs to be some level of emotional commitment. And on top of that, you find that a lot of times, if there is some level of simpery, there is, a certain amount of time that's been dedicated towards being, emotionally manipulated by that particular babe or guy, if you're into that sort of thing. But all in all, I still don't classify this as simping, because it doesn't seem like there was any emotional commitment or emotional investment by the guy. Dude was just horny, and shorty looked at it and decided to take advantage of a horny guy who seemed to be particularly nice with money, or at least seemed to be particularly generous with his money, because there's a lot of guys who would get to a point and be like, if I'm not getting the goods, I don't see why we're still here. And I'd probably not even be any one of these guys, because honestly, like, by the time we're going to the club and you're not helping with like the chipping in for the drinks, I'd have checked the fuck out. Especially the babes that you go to the club with and they're like, let me order, and then they order the most expensive, or they order one of the more expensive drinks, not because that's something that she takes, not because it's something she's used to, or that's something that works for her. It's simply because you are the one paying for it, so she's ordering something that she normally wouldn't. Like, I feel like if as a babe you want to do that, then you should be very comfortable paying your own drink. But that wasn't mentioned, so that's kind of besides the point. Still, at the end of the day, like, this whole experiential investment, this whole like giving in some sort of input because you're trying to lay pipe, I feel like as guys we should have gotten to the point by now where we realized that if shorty isn't willing to give some sort of input into this entire thing, then maybe she isn't that interested in shagging you. Because for the most part, if a baby is seriously interested in banging you, she starts to put in her input from the jump. Not even when you ask her, she starts to give it from the absolute bloody jump. So for you to have to put in a shit ton of input simply means that shorty was probably 50-50 or wasn't even interested in it at all. Which is why, to kind of conclude all of this, I just want to tell all the fellas out here, please go and get women that actually want to have sex with you. I just kind of have to lay it out as simply and as flatly as that. Get women that actually want to bang you. This thing of going after babes that you're interested, who are not interested in laying pipe with you, and you're willing to put in so much effort, especially on a financial level, just for you to end up being hoodwinked like this is honestly just annoying and quite deplorable. Like, if shorty's interested in you, you'll probably feel that shit. If she's not interested in you, you'll probably pay for that shit. So please, think with your heads, not with your dicks. Because let's be quite honest about something. Your dick, it'll get hard, then after it nuts, it'll get soft, and it'll revert back to its original purpose of just offloading your pee. But your head, if you keep that logic intact, it's usually straight most of the time. It's the same kind of logic you'll use when you're horny, when you're not horny, when you're sleepy, when you're not sleepy, and when you're hungry even. But then again, maybe I don't understand women. Maybe I haven't had that much experience, and maybe I probably don't understand simping. I might be wrong about a lot of things, so I want your thoughts on it. The DMs are open. On IG, it is at the Breaktime_podcast. On Facebook, it is at the Breaktime Podcast. And on X, it is at Bagaka the D. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.